Welcome to Meg Unique Stitches YouTube channel. Welcome back, soulmates, to Meg Unique Stitches YouTube channel. So this class is a continuation of the previous class where we looked at how to draft the long sleeve. So remember I said that we can also on this pattern get our short sleeve. And how to go about that is simple. You want to just measure the short sleeve length, that's from the tip of your shoulder to where you want the short sleeve to get to. So at that point where it gets to, you want to also take the round circumference. So in this case, our short sleeve length is 7 inches. The round circumference is 13 inches. So yours could be less than that, depends on how free you want that area to be. And if you're working with a stretching material, if you want it more fitted, of course you can, because the fabric is already stretching. Okay, so we have 7 inches by 13 inches. So along this, from this top part here, which happens to be our starting point, you want to just mark the length, which is 7 inches. 7 inches. So just make point at that 7 inches. Okay, 7 inches. And we're going to be making the point into a straight line. 7 inches. Remember that we want to derive the short sleeve from this long sleeve pattern. So I'll just mark at that, connect the points together like so. I have to use a different marker so that we can differentiate. So here is the length of our short sleeve. Okay, so on this length now, I'm going to be marking the circumference, which is 13. So 13, our pattern is on fold. 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. So from this uncut part, I'm going to place my tape rule and mark 6.5, which is half of 13. Okay, remember I said yours can even be less than 13, depends on how free. It can be more. Okay, so I've made the point and I will just connect this point here. I'll connect it to this armhole point here. Okay, so this is it here. Yes, so here is our short sleeve. Okay, from this point to this point is the short sleeve. So if you're making a short sleeve, this top part here remains the same. The bicep, the cap height remains the same. So it's just the length that differs. Okay, as you can see. And if you want to make a three quarter is usually around the elbow, either before the elbow, on the elbow, or after the elbow. Maybe 1 inch before the elbow, or on the elbow, or 1 inch after the elbow. Remember that in the previous class, this is the elbow line. Okay, so if you want to make a three-quarter, it's just to cut and cut from this point. So you might want to, if you're going to be stopping on the elbow line, then you should have enough ease along that point so that you can easily fold your hand. Okay, you can bend your hand over however you want. So on this is the, from here, from this point to this point, is, we can call it the three-quarter sleeve. So you just cut out this armhole shaping remains the same for whether the three-quarter, the short sleeve, or the long sleeve. So if you are cutting a three-quarter, you just stop here in your cutting. If it's a long sleeve, you take it downward. If it's a short sleeve, you cut to this point here. Okay, so that is just about the basic sleeve. And one other thing I would like to mention, in the previous class, in the first episode of this basic sleeve class, we talked about the cap height, and I said the cap height is between averagely 3 to 5 inches. But in this class, we used 3.5, and I also told us how to calculate that using your bust circumference. Now, so I'm going to be showing us how to cut this out now. How to cut this out. But before cutting, I'll trace out this short sleeve on another pattern. Okay, so before cutting out, I want to trace this from this short sleeve, I want to trace it on another pattern, okay, on this other pattern, so that I'm going to be having the short sleeve and the long sleeve. This is why pattern drafting is so interesting. You can have your pattern like this, and each time you want to create a long sleeve for a particular client, you just pick up the original pattern, trace out. If it's the short sleeve, you trace out. If it's the three-quarter, you also trace out. Okay, so with your tracing wheel, you can do that. Is to just align the patterns, make sure it is aligned, and you want to trace the length of the sleeve, the bicep, the front armhole, and the back armhole. Okay, you want to do all of that. All right, so you just trace with your tracing wheel. So I'm done tracing the short sleeve area, so just lift it up. So the markings are like dots, so they are faint, so I can see them. So I'm going to be highlighting the dots with my highlighter. Okay. All right, so here is a sketch of the short sleeve, and here is a long sleeve. Okay, so you can see how lovely both are looking. So if you want to make a three-quarter, the same thing, you just trace out. So if you want to add, remember on this pattern we did not add any allowance. So if you want to add your allowance, all you need to do is to the down parts. It depends. If you want to do a turn up or anything, you can add 1 inch, 1.5, 2 inches, 3 inches to the down parts. Okay, now to the upper part also, of course, let's trim out first. To the side, the allowance to add to the side is the same allowance you added to the main top, to the bodies. Okay, so if you gave 1 inch, you want to give 1 inch here too, downward. Same for the short sleeve. If you gave 1.5, you want to also give the same 1.5 to the sides here. Okay, so exactly what you gave as your side seam for the bodies is what you will give to the sleeve. So now let's cut out. Now the first thing you want to cut out, you can start from the down parts. Okay, so we are cutting the long sleeve. I already traced out the short sleeve, so you want to cut out like so. Just follow the lines. So okay, can just take this off completely. Now we are going to be cutting out the back armhole marking first. Okay, the back armhole marking, which is the red mark, so we're going to be cutting that off first. Yeah, so I've cut out the back armhole. So before we trim off the front armhole, we are going to open up the sleeve. This is why you should cut on fold. Okay, so we have cut out the back armhole, so I'm going to open up. Okay, I'm going to open up so that we can trim off the front armhole. Remember, that was why I use a different marker so that we can see. So we're going to be trimming off along this this other marker here. Okay, the one that looks like blue, something like that. We'll just trim off this spiral shape marking here. So that will be for the front. Okay, so you don't trim off the front while you have not opened up. If not, you will end up with the same shape for the front and the back. Yeah, so here is the front and here is the back. So you want to label so that you would not mix them up. And when you are fixing this type of sleeve, you're going to have the one for the left hand, This is the right, the part that will be, sorry, this is the front. This part will be fixed to the front, while this part, this other half, will go towards the back. Okay, so you have F and B. So in this method of sleeve drafting, the left hand and the right hand would be different. The left hand and the right hand would be different, okay, because the front has to align with the front and the back has to align with the back. This shape here is for the front armhole, while this shape here is for the back armhole. And the same thing goes for whether it is a short sleeve or the 3/4. So you want to just cut from this down part, just like we did. Okay, I'll just cut this away. Then the side. Remember that we did not add allowance. So if you want to, you just place this on your fabric and you add your. So we're going to be cutting out the back armhole first, just like we did for the long sleeve. Make sure that there are no sharp edges. Okay, so I've cut out the back. So you open up to cut out the front, to trim off the front